Boom. And we are live with another episode of the Brown Water Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
That's right. And we got a great show lined up for you this evening. We have Lane and Stephanie in the show, in the studio from NeuroKare. And we're going to be talking about mental health, which is a huge topic of conversation right now, and how to use ketamine infusions to treat that. But before we jump into that, we want to thank the people that keep the lights on at the Brown Water Studios here. Right out of the gate, 2023 is the year to keep your mouth clean. This is Dr. Robbie Williams over at Southern Magnolia Smiles. You can look him up on Facebook and Instagram at Southern Magnolia Smiles. That's him and his team right there. He's been a supporter of the show for a very long time now, and we are very much appreciative. He's an OG sponsor. So when you're ready to book that appointment, go check him out and give him a call at 228-215-1202 and tell them that Brownwater sent you. Our buddy Tyler over at Taylor & Cox Law Firm. They have been practicing law in Pascagoula for over 30 years. If you find yourself in need of legal representation for any reason, give them a call at 228-696-0111. And they do specialize in criminal law, family law, and civil litigation defense. We also want to thank Taylor & Cox Law Firm for sponsoring the Brown Water Banter app all the way through the end of the year.
Go download it.
That's right. If you don't have it on your phone already, go download it. It's free in the App Store and Google Play. Moving right along. Yeah, that's thunder if you could hear that, because it hasn't rained in 3 months. As soon as we booked the show, we brought the rain. That's anyway, right. Rocky Brooks over at Sea to Swamp. Look them up on Facebook. Sea, the number 2 and Swamp. They're your outdoor tackle and apparel shop. They're local. He spends his money in the community, so shop with him when you can. He's got a location in Gulfport and Goshen. You can give him a call at 228-205-3964. He carries extra tough boots, all kind of tackle, rods, reels. He does repair work. He's slinging kayaks. He's got brownwater gear. So
I just dropped off some rope pads Sunday.
There you go. So we can't keep those in stock, so get them while you can. Our buddy Kendrick over at Forever Young Men and Women's Health. If you haven't heard of him yet, you haven't been listening to the show, because we've been talking about him for a while now, and he was actually on the show.
He actually does have a gym, or goes to the gym.
he goes to the gym. But yes, if you find yourself lethargic, you can't get off the couch, you can't get back in the gym, maybe the sex drive ain't what it used to be, go let a medical professional like Kendrick over at Forever Young Men and Women's Health check you out, do some lab work, figure out what's going on, and possibly maybe hormone replacement therapy could be what you need. You can give him a shout at 228-363-6623, and he can get you on a plan, man. He can get it figured out for you. So go check him out. Like I said, he's on Facebook as well. And we also want to thank Randy Bosarge. He's your District 5 supervisor for Jackson County, who recently was just reelected. He decided to stay on with us as a sponsor even after the elections are over.
Through the year.
Yeah, and we're proud of that. So Randy, thank you so much for supporting the show and for representing us here in Jackson County. And I'm sure we'll have more from Randy throughout the year, just updates on what's going on with the county. So we're glad to have him on board as well. All right. Now that that's out of the way.
Hey.
How you ladies doing?
How are you ladies doing this evening?
Doing good.
Doing good. All right. Okay. So mental health is obviously a big topic in the news. Probably the past couple years, I would say it's gained a lot of steam, a lot of attention. We've talked about it on the show here before many times with the sheriff candidates that we've had. That was a big issue that they mentioned. Obviously there's not the state hospitals, I guess, that there used to be. There's not a lot of funding for mental health. And a lot of times that falls onto the community, which then the police officers have to deal with. So anything that can help in that regard, I think is a good thing. So this is right up your alley. This is what y'all do. So if you could, I guess, just explain, what NeuroKare is and how you got into it. Boom. Right.
Who wants to go
Pass
first?
the right off to you.
Yeah, who wants to go first?
I'm Stephanie.
Okay.
So depression is difficult to treat. And if you know anybody who's depressed, and you say, they think up to 7% of adults in the U.S. suffer with depression. So depression is difficult to treat. And being healthcare providers ourselves, we see a lot of patients who suffer with chronic depression and other stuff like anxiety, PTSD. So traditionally, you go in, you're prescribed medication, and a lot of these medications work by increasing some of our own body's natural hormones like serotonin, dopamine, and a lot of the problems, though, with some of these pill medications are it takes up to sometimes 12 weeks for some of these medicines to start elevating our natural hormones. And So we found ketamine is not a new drug. It's been used since the 70s, anesthetic. We use ketamine in surgery as CRNAs. We use it. It has got a lot of wonderful uses in military and civilian application as well. But what we're finding is ketamine has some amazing application for patients who have chronic depression, patients who have a diagnosis of PTSD and anxiety. And it just sort of works in a different way, really rapid acting, and it works by certain body receptors, like the NMDA receptor. And what it does, it sort of blocks that receptor. And a lot of studies are going on with ketamine. And like a lot of things, we don't know exactly how it works. I mean, we know how some things work, like volatile anesthetics. Like when you go to sleep, you have general anesthesia, we turn on the gas, and so you go to sleep. But we still don't really understand how that works in the body. But we know it works because our patients go to sleep, and it's a safe way to administer anesthesia, and then they wake up at the end when we turn the gas off. Well, ketamine is sort of a newer application of it is for the treatment of chronic depression, PTSD, and anxiety. And so what they're finding, it's a really rapid response. So it's not like this several weeks for waiting to get certain things in balance and levels up. It's pretty instant. And so some of the uses that we do with NeuroKare, which is our ketamine infusion clinic, is we do ketamine infusions. And so we're seeing some really amazing results, and pretty quick, with usually is like a first infusion for our patients with chronic depression and anxiety at NeuroKare. So there's a need for it, and there's a lot of people that suffer with depression. And so it's encouraging whenever you can do these transfusions of ketamine and see patients and getting these amazing reports like the next day or 2 days later, talking what an amazing transformation of people in their personal life, and people who are not comfortable going to like the movies before, and now going to the movies with their family, and they're traveling and calling their friends. And so it's pretty amazing to see some of the results with ketamine infusion. And so I think as providers, we saw a need for this in our communities and thought this would be a great way to sort of help out and sort of jump in on a problem that is sort of understaffed, and there's not a lot of health care. Mental health is highly overwhelmed in most places, and I think in the South, demographically, we have our fair share of people who suffer with depression. But that's what NeuroKare is all about.
Yeah, that's super cool. Like you say, in the stigmata, I think, is a little bit more removed maybe nowadays. Like people are talking about it more. So I know that's probably a big barrier for people to like admit they have a problem to begin with, right?
That's correct.
Well, men used to not, especially men.
Right.
I don't need a problem, and then it would go longer and longer and longer, and it affects you even more and more. You never get treated for it.
Correct.
Correct. And women are 2 times more likely to suffer with depression as men. So
that is their hormone baby stuff.
I don't know. I just think because we're so
it's an inflammatory thing. Our diets, our lifestyle, stress,
dealing with men.
Yeah. Right? Well, I was going to say the stress.
Opportunity.
The stress of what we have to endure.
Yes.
Sure.
Not my wife. I know it'd be
no, not mine.
She's happy.
Yeah,
she's good.
Right. That's right. The patients that you see with these coming into your clinic, are these patients that have been treated otherwise and are coming in because that didn't work, or most of them new patients?
Go ahead, Lane.
Yes. So our
kick that up for us right here if you can. That way we can hit,
okay.
Everybody can hear you. Yeah. There we go. Perfect.
So,
there you go.
Sure. So our patients are coming in with basically a pre-existing diagnosis. They've seen a primary care provider, they've seen a psychiatrist, they're seeing somebody that's treating their depression, their anxiety, their PTSD, and it's either not working for them, or they don't like taking the way the medication makes them feel.
Right.
There's a multitude of reasons why people are reaching out to us, but it's kind of one of those things. You can go on TikTok today and Google ketamine therapy, and you'll get 100,000 testimonials of people that are trying ketamine, and the reactions and how overwhelmingly it is benefiting patients across the country, honestly.
Yeah, if for like healthcare side of it, I mean, mental health is harder to diagnosed. There's a lot of aspects of it that's kind of subjective as far as we know medically right now. It's not as easy as like
A lot of
checking.
gray area.
Self-reporting of
Yeah,
symptoms.
you can't
and
like
whatnot.
we can check a white blood cell count and see
Right.
if you have an infection. There's a
Right.
lot of imaging studies we can do for the heart. It's
Right.
brain too, but they're only just now kind of learning, oh, this area seems to be not highlighted the
Right.
right way. Maybe that causes this, but it's not an exact science yet, right?
Right. It's a lot of subjectivity. You're
Right.
right. It's more qualitative
Mhm.
and like the tools that they use, depression on the scale from 1 to 10.
Right.
It's more of a shade of gray. It's something that's not tangible that you can grab and point to. That
Mhm.
this is broken. But I think
Yet, maybe
right.
one day,
But
right? Maybe one day.
I think part of it, you hit on it, the stigmatism of mental health, and I think it's gotten a lot better. And I think it gets better as we talk about it, and
Mhm.
and people and social media, when we see people that we really think's a great singer, a great athlete, whenever they come forward and say, "Well, I suffer with depression," you're like, "Wow, I had no idea."
Mhm.
It helps that. And I think also people don't see the brain as like an organ that just like a heart or something that can break. I mean, the brain is an organ, and some of the things that they think happens with depression is our brains like get blueprinted. And
Right.
they get blueprinted on, if we have depression, and then I'm more apt to be depressed. It takes less and less for a bad day to just put me over the edge. And so we start to remap, and just everything goes on path of least resistance. So if my neurons and my synapses are always going in this direction, it's harder to divert and
Mhm.
like steer clear of that. And something that ketamine helps do is it helps sort of reset
Mhm.
that blueprinting that the brain tends to do. And
And
that's
kind of
one
gets
of
you out of the hole.
it
'Cause,
does.
yeah.
It sort of gets you out of the hole. But it's
Reshapes.
not a
Right.
it reshapes. Yeah, it
It's
rewires.
A good analogy I feel like I've heard from doing some ketamine research is like the brain is like clay.
Mhm.
Like how when you set it out in the sun, it starts to kind of dry out, and it's not moldable. You can't shape it into things. Experiences don't affect you the same way. If your brain is clogged and not able to do that, you can't get out of bed. You can't find joy in your day-to-day living. So ketamine, through a certain process, we can use all the big terms we want, but ultimately ketamine is helping to soften that clay to help us to reshape and remold those connections so that you can find joy in small things. You may not be happy every day, all day, but you're starting to think about the future. You're starting to experience joy in certain things and your activities of daily living. And I think we're transforming people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I saw working at Singing River Pascagoula, we would do the electric shock therapy,
Mhm.
which people may not even realize is still a thing. I didn't
Right.
really even realize that until I was a part
I
of
thought
it.
that was kind of like torture.
Well, but
Yeah.
not the way we do it nowadays,
Right.
because we give you an anesthetic to where you don't feel or understand anything that's happening, but they do shock you, which induces a seizure, which is supposedly like an electronic way of resetting the
your brain.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I've seen people from like catatonic stage where they can't speak, they don't respond to anything that you're doing in the room. And then after a few treatments, they'll at least answer your questions, or some will actually laugh and joke and act,
Yep.
normal again. So
Yeah.
there's that style of treatment, but this is a lot less invasive of a thing. So what's it like for somebody that comes into y'all's clinic? Because I'm sure it's like ketamine, like maybe they've heard of that drug before, right? Like the
Right.
street drug,
Yeah,
Special
that's what I was
K.
going to ask. Yeah.
I mean,
Horse tranquilizer.
right. Like, what am I
Yeah.
getting into here?
Yeah.
Am I gonna, are we gonna sit in the back of a Volkswagen and
Yeah.
trip out and listen to the Grateful Dead? Like, how does this go down?
Are
Yeah.
there cops here?
Because I'm okay with that if that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take it.
So yeah, I mean, we have a clinic, obviously, and we have a website, and people call in, and some people are just curious,
Right.
and so they put their name, and so we contact them and start talking to them, like sort of like what we're doing now, like
Mhm.
how does it work, how does this go, and so we have a clinic, and then we get there. It's a treatment resistant technique for depression, so this person has to have a diagnosis, of, let's say, chronic depression. And that has to show where they've tried different things. And like Lane says, this medication doesn't work for me. I don't like the way it makes me feel. So, or the ECT, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Let's say that is awful looking. And so this is the treatment resistant. So it's not usually a first line defense, but it's something that's showing, getting a lot of traction, a lot of good positive results. So you come into our clinic, we do a medical intake. You bring your medical records in, we talk to you, and we've usually, been talking to you before, like, you show up at the clinic, but it's an IV infusion. And so we have a clinic there. It's not in the back of like a Volkswagen Bug. But
that
it
would
is
be
a
cool.
it,
It would
it's
be
a,
cool though.
Have one of the rooms
Or
like
decorate
that.
the room
Yeah,
like
that would be
is
sweet.
what I was
well,
getting at.
we got a really sort of cool coastal feel
Right.
clinic. You know, we got a lot of grays going on. It looks nice. It looks like the kind of place it's comfortable to sit at. And so
Right.
we have these reclining chairs that we sit in.
It'll show
and-
up over there in just a minute. I got one
yeah.
off of y'all's
Yeah.
So
website.
we put the headsets on you, and people just sort of sit and they do chill, and they do chill, because that's the whole thing. We want people to be comfortable because they are receiving, you know, medical care, and they usually have their family members waiting in the waiting room and for them, and you know, it's a very relaxed, calm environment, and that's how it will go. And it's not like a one like fix. You know, like you come in, and a lot of the studies are showing in the way we do our treatments, it's not like a one and done. So someone usually has, like for depression, comes in and has one treatment, and so they'll usually do a series of treatments, maybe over a week or every 2 weeks, depending on, you know, how flexible they are, but their schedule. And so it's something that lasts for a while, and everybody's different. We have some clients that come in, and every 6 months they feel like they need, and they feel like that intangible, I can't really describe it, but you know, I'm feeling I'm slipping down. I feel like I'm now becoming like
back in
more,
that rut.
I'm back in the rut again. You know, my snaps are, you know, starting to fire on, I'm getting sad. I'm not happy. And so they'll call, and it's like, I need one. And so we'll get them in, and we'll do the treatment that's been working for them. And then they'll go off, and they'll have great results, and they'll come back whenever they feel like they need the boost or the top off.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
What how do you work dosage wise? I know everybody's different. Men are different than women, bigger, smaller. How does that work?
It's a weight-based dose. We base it off of your weight, really your ideal body weight.
And they come in, and then you give it through the IV.
Yep.
What is that? How long does the treatment and the after effects last? How long are you looking for a session?
So a session lasts usually about 40 to 45 minutes, the actual infusion. Obviously, there's some time on the front end. We're monitoring you the whole time. So you come in, we hook you up to the monitors, we take a baseline blood pressure. We have you get all comfortable in the recliner. Oftentimes we have the noise canceling headphones that you can hook up to Bluetooth to our ketamine playlists, which some people choose to use their own music, and that's fine. You know, the setting is, we feel like the setting is kind of like the key. And kind of trying to get people, and also the way that you come into the infusion, the way your mindset going into the infusion. If you have like negative, like this isn't going to work, you know, that just, oh, I'm having a terrible day. I always try to tell patients as we're starting the infusion, okay, like have you got, you know, your mind right? Let's get in a good space. So before we start this infusion, but anyway, we do hook them up to the monitors, and then we start an IV, and then we start the infusion. It usually lasts about 45 minutes for mood disorder infusions. Now we do also do some that are boosters, and some for chronic pain infusions that last a little bit longer, and the dose is a good bit higher for those.
Do you think you're seeing, like, as far as patient mix, more for the mental health side or more for the chronic pain, or even distributed?
I feel like lately we've had more depression, anxiety.
Yeah, because I mean, you're kind of touching on two big topics there. Like we've discussed, like mental health, but then you've also got the opioid pandemic that just kind of like seems like it disappeared, but it didn't.
It's still there.
You know what I mean? It's like
huge.
All the people that were hooked on Oxycontin, and then a
Methadone,
large number of them went to street drugs, and it's like ketamine can help with that, right? With the chronic pain part, maybe not so much the withdrawal part.
It does have a role in that as well, and the dosing is a little bit different for that in the way we infuse that, but it does have a good role. And we've had some, I don't know, maybe a little bit more depression, anxiety have come in lately, but we've had our share of the chronic pain patients have come in as well.
What about the time from, like you said, you stop the infusion to when they can leave? How much layover is that?
Really, they start kind of coming back around within 10 minutes usually. And most people are, depending on the dose, usually at your very first infusion, you're not going to have as much of a groggy type of feeling. It's not until you get to the higher dosing that you might have a few minutes after the infusion is over that you just, you know,
Gotta
feel a
recalibrate.
little woozy, still
A
a
little
little but you're
euphoric.
a little euphoric, but you're not really ever going to be asleep to the point where
Right.
you're unarousable
Yeah.
ever.
What do the patients describe to you? I'm sure you kind of do you have like a debrief or just in talking as you're getting them ready, how it was with the music on,
Yeah.
even at the lower doses? I mean, do they still know they're there? Does it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, a lot of them, I feel like, report like a dream-like type of scenario where oftentimes they aren't sure if they're in a dream,
Right.
if they're conscious, if they're asleep, if they're awake. They feel, I've had people say they feel untethered. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if I feel like I'm kind of outside my body, but
Right.
but I know I need to get back in my body.
Right.
Somehow, yeah.
Right, gotta get
and
back.
like colors and textures are more vivid, and I wouldn't really call it like hallucinations or anything like that. It's just a I had one person describe something about like how you look into a kaleidoscope
Mhm.
and how it's constantly moving, and like they were like, I feel like I could just go into that hole in the center of the kaleidoscope and just, it's all fluid. Everything is very,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would
I mean, that
expect.
sounds
Chill.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Right.
Yeah.
so we do have a lot of patients that will, talk while they're having these infusions. So we do
Yeah.
have that. And we have
Loudly.
some
Kind of like
Loudly.
sleep
'Cause they have-
talking.
Yeah, well, they have the noise canceling
Oh.
headsets
Right.
on, and so we're talking to them, and they're talking to us, and
Mhm.
everybody.
Can you
Everybody
Oh, yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so we have some fun.
Some
Is-
good conversations.
It's
I
Good
bet.
conversations.
Right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it can be, like it can be if they have like say PTSD or things like that. Some of the trauma can bubble up to the surface.
To where it comes out.
To
Yeah.
where it comes
yeah.
out, and that's, I mean, we want that.
Right.
We want us to be able to like reset back to where, that's where you can get back to baseline to where you were before all that trauma happened, so that you can start feeling like yourself again.
Is that a two-way conversation though? Like if not like there's not a psychiatrist there
Not
or anybody
right now,
there
currently,
to
no.
I didn't know if that's part of the protocol or if it's more just kind of
There
Just
are
listening and
Yeah.
places
agreeing.
around. There are places around the country that do concurrent psychotherapy with ketamine infusions.
Yeah.
We just don't have that available right at the moment.
Right.
We've talked
Mhm.
about it,
Mhm.
and it's probably on the horizon. But
and I'm sure that's patient based too. Maybe some don't want to do that. Maybe some
Right.
just want to
some just want to come in and have their infusions
Right.
and just
Leave me
relax.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They
Some
just
people
wanna
want their family members in the room. Some people want their service dogs in the room.
Yeah.
We try to be accommodating
Mhm.
to everybody's different needs, whether it's temperature of the room, blanket, if they want a certain neck roll. We have the heated neck rolls, we have the eye masks, we have ambient
So it's like going to a
light.
spa.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We try
Pretty
to make the
much, yeah.
setting is paramount. Like, we want it to be what you want it, how you want it.
right.
Yeah. Oh, you said you brought the family members there. It's like, if I get this done at 10 o'clock and I'm done, am I good to go back to work? 12? What's the layover time on that?
No, we actually have time we go through some patient education, just
Mhm.
like if you were to have like
EGD
a
or yeah,
colonoscopy.
yeah.
Right.
We do not want you to sign any legal documents, drive a bulldozer, or even drive home. I mean, there's certain things that we don't want you to do.
Right.
And so we go over that ahead of time, and the family member that's there with them to drive them home is aware of it too. Because most people feel really good and still like on a high,
Right.
right before they leave, which is good. So we just don't want anybody to, go and bet everything, on the roulette table, and then they're mad because they lost the house. We try to, rein it in and make sure they understand they should just go home. Should just go home and rest, just like having a dental extraction or colonoscopy.
Mhm.
Just go home, and by tomorrow you'll be ready to get back to your
A
usual
good night's sleep and you're ready
good
to
night's
rock and roll.
sleep. Get something good to eat. Most people talk about Chick-fil-A as the post-procedure food. Where are we going? We had a patient the other day that they were like, well, I'm just going to go eat some more oysters. And I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sweet.
they do it. But so, yeah, they got to go home and just
Yeah, so take the
chill
day.
and
Take the whole
take
day.
the day.
Right.
Yeah,
Take
we're
the
giving you
day.
the day off.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. So I was on the other screen here on the computer. So we had some questions coming in, but I think we touched on some of them. My wife says, hey, and she wanted to
Hey,
know,
Heather.
she said, do you think that the ketamine infusions teaches the patients how to identify when they are slipping? Like maybe that reset because now they know what good feels like. Maybe they're
Yeah.
able to more quickly identify, like, oh, I'm going back into that.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah, the goal is to, come back and also know when to reach out for help. I mean, certainly, we're a clinic, and we never can replace like emergency medical care, like
Right.
911. I
Right.
am in a bad place, and
Right.
I'm feeling, like, I'm having just the worst day of my life. We'll never be able to be there to replace that. But a lot of patients that we are getting are coming from us from they have been going to other clinics because we were not there. So we're getting a lot of patients that are prior ketamine infusions, and so they know. Like, we're getting
Right.
patients who've been receiving ketamine infusions from out of state or in the north part of the state. And that's important for us because we'll, review their medical records. And if they know, like if someone comes in and said, this works for me and this is what I've been getting for 2 years now, that seasoned patient knows what works for them. And so we don't try to recreate or try to vary from a
Right.
treatment that is solid for them, that they can say, and I know. And I think we're fortunate because we do have a lot of those repeat customers coming to us because we are closer now. We are in, Biloxi, Mississippi, and so they can get to us. So we're fortunate to these patients have been going through depression and been depressed long enough where they realize, I'm coming to the cliff. I'm starting to go down.
Yeah.
And they call us and literally like, I need to get in. And so because we're newer, we have the flexibility now. We're like, when can you get here?
We can make it happen.
We can make it happen. Absolutely.
We had 2 questions, one from Troy Bland, and then also from Forever Young Men's Health, which is Kendrick. Pretty much the same question. It says, like, how often and is it a specific treatment plan? You kind of touched on that already a little bit. Like, I guess it can kind of vary from patient to patient.
It does. And I think that's a lot with medical care. Like, one blood pressure works for you, is not going to work for you.
Correct.
And it may be the one that I stay on till I'm 60 and works. So we try to, we have a starting point though, that we go off of, like the weight-based dose we talked about. We definitely have a start point. And so we go from there to see where we're going to increase our dose for those patients.
And then I guess frequency too is what they're asking. Like, how often? I guess
So if it from the mood disorders, we usually encourage people, because the research is kind of leaning towards a minimum of 6 infusions total in a series. So we usually say 6 to 8 is kind of a good starting point. Some people want to go up to 10 on that first initial set of infusions, and those are going to happen every other day or every third day. We want to give like a rest day in between to kind of let your brain rest, or you can go do work or do whatever. We understand, you got to take off a whole day of work, or you got to be off, or have a family member bring you in. It's kind of difficult, but it is over about a 2-week period, every other day, or so, sometimes every third day.
And that's another component of the whole mental health thing that is difficult to be able to take off that kind of amount of work. You know?
Absolutely.
And then, so once you get done with your set, you should be good for some relative time. That's good for you. Good for everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Like we have like the 6-month patient that comes in.
Right.
And, but and he may in 2 months call and say, I need to schedule an infusion. And
is this something you can take continuously, or do you need a break, or how does that work? Can you do it just every other day for the rest of the year, or do you need to space it out?
I mean, the every other day for like ever is, I don't think that you're going to get
any more benefit
from that.
Okay.
Any more benefit from that. Yeah.
Yeah. We and anytime you're talking about medications like this, safety is always a big, huge issue. Sure. And we probably should have led earlier with it, but to give them your background so that they know like who
they just opened the clinic, dude. I mean, just take their word for it.
What did y'all do? Y'all just research this on Google? Like,
we had a couple of days off. We were like, what do we want to do?
Yeah, exactly. So tell them your backgrounds for people that don't know what a CRNA is. You did say
so
that earlier.
we're both
certified.
All 3 certified registered nurse anesthetist, or CRNAs, and that's what we do. So we're advanced practice nurses here in the state.
And that our license allows us to be able to give these infusions.
Yes, advanced practice registered nurses can do ketamine infusions.
Okay.
So are y'all still CRNA, or is this the full-time?
Oh, she was at work
we're
today.
still,
We're
yeah,
still
we're,
Okay.
CRNA.
Yeah,
yes.
Stephanie was
Okay.
at work today. I know she
We're
was
Yeah,
at
still
work.
yeah.
clinic and hospital
Yeah.
based.
Outpatient surgery.
We were getting beat up
Absolutely.
a couple hours ago.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We're just so
Yeah.
glad to be here. We made it.
Yeah,
Right.
We made
So
it.
y'all still got your regular jobs,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
you do this on the side. What is that? What does your clinic hours usually look like?
They
What
got
do
a big
look-
team, right? A few people, because I
Yeah,
saw on your
we-
website.
Yeah, we do.
Team is 6 or so, 5 really, I guess. We're currently by appointment only because, like I said, we all do have
Our full-time job.
Right.
jobs.
Yeah.
So we are trying to work with people to get them in as early as possible or as late as possible, depending on what's good for them. Because some people do like to go to work, so
Yeah.
they're not down a whole day. So
Right.
you could theoretically work the morning, go into work till 3, come in, have your infusion, and then you're off the rest of the night. And then the
Sleep
next
it
day,
off.
you can get up and
Yeah.
go back to work. So you're not missing work. We have come in on weekends. We come in on weekends all the time for people to keep them on their schedule too.
Yeah.
Because we like to keep there from being a huge break between infusions. So if they have an infusion on, Thursday, we would want to wait all the way till Monday. So we might come in on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Do you have a program? I guess the only thing I can kind of relate it to is kind of like a tattoo artist. Like, can I request just you? You know what I'm saying? Or is it just an appointment? Or how does that work?
I guess you could, but
Yeah.
we haven't really.
Does it really matter?
It
You
really.
just
we're all. We all have the same license. We all have
right.
carry the same level of expertise about ketamine, and we can all safely administer it.
Yeah.
the
But maybe
medication.
appointment wise,
Yep.
y'all are all about the same as well.
Right. We have kind of like a scheduler. We do have a scheduler that and a patient care, I guess. What do you call him? Like an advocate, like that.
Like
you call him
admin,
Yeah,
or
he's
like,
and he helps us get our schedule. So he kind of lets us. We let them know our availability,
Right.
and he kind of fits people into the slots.
I
that
gotcha.
we-
Yep.
Yeah. We had another question come in. It says from Jordan, how does it compare to psychedelics? And you and I talked about that when we first talked about this topic. That is something that's being talked about more and more. And I told you about MAPS, which is the Psychedelic Research Center. And it seems like they may be allowing more of this type of research to be done outside of just the scope of what people are doing with ketamine. Like, this is kind of like it's been around for a while, the ketamine treatment.
Right.
So, but I guess what I'm saying is that the doors are opening for this style of treatment. Right.
Well, and you mentioned it earlier, the negative, thing about fentanyl, because right now the media is like fentanyl this, fentanyl that. And we all know, like, fentanyl is a great drug.
Tried and
It's
true,
beautiful.
safe.
used in
I
the
told a
setting it
group-
was designed for. It's beautiful. So
Right.
yeah, fentanyl, love it. Ketamine, love it. I
Yeah.
mean, it has a place in medicine, whether we're talking about anesthesia, sedation, or for what we're doing, ketamine infusion. I mean, there is a solid place for that. And I think we're just tapping into, and there's so much research that's going on right now. We're redefining even depression and what that means. It's opening up Pandora's box, literally, on mental health and exposing a lot of stuff. But the good thing is it's having some really good results. And so I think it's wonderful. And you're talking about so if we get a referral and I'm making the phone call and I'm talking to the potential patient and they're asking questions. So I would, love to be the one who does their infusion because, we've talked on the phone,
Right.
we've getting to know these people and we've answered their questions and we're hearing the story. And so, but because we all have, other jobs, we'll try to get them in. I want to see that, patient. I really want to meet this person. This is, exciting because I'm like leaning forward thinking this person is really struggling and I want to see this. I want to see the start and finish because in this anesthesia, we take patients, we go to surgery, take them to PACU, and we very rarely see them again.
Yep.
So this is like the first time that we can.
Gratuitous, I feel like.
It is. It's wonderful because then we can see how did that work. And we're following up with them. So I try to be
I
the
usually
one.
give my cell phone number to all the people
Yeah.
I talk to.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Text me.
Okay.
Call
Oh,
me.
yeah.
I mean,
Whoa.
I just at this point, like it
So
really
you got
is.
some live science projects.
It's
going
fun.
on.
Oh,
Yeah.
we definitely have some life science projects. And I was like, this is just a test bed for our own research too. Because whenever patients come in, we have them fill out, score your where are you right now on this scale? And so we're able to put like real quantitative data on this. I mean, this is a test bed for how is this working for us, and it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
It's
Yeah.
very cutting edge. I feel very like we're
Yeah.
right on the
Do you
cut.
still have the people that come in with the mindset of it's a drug, it's a dirty word, kind of like with the marijuana, and as you know what I'm talking about? Like people would say, that was a drug, I can't do that. My grandma would always like, I'll never use marijuana because it's a drug.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Those people probably don't call,
Not
Right.
right? I would
really.
assume,
I would
reach out.
say,
Yeah.
I feel like marijuana has kind of paved the way for
Medical
alternative uses
Right.
for medications. It kind of, like you said, takes the stigma off of using
drugs.
drugs
Yeah.
to do something. But
It's funny because, like you already mentioned, like fentanyl, it's all over the news,
Right.
and as we know,
Mhm.
and we had the End It for Good people on here. They're a nonprofit here locally that are trying to reform drug laws, and I went to one of their seminars, and like it's full of people that are forward thinking with when it comes to that. But then there was also law enforcement, district attorneys, people in drug court, all these people that represented people that are mental health and everything. Everybody's talking fentanyl bad, and we all had to talk. And so they gave me the microphone. I was like, fentanyl's a great drug, and I give it to people every day. And everybody's like, turns
Right.
around and looks, but it has a place.
It
And
does.
it has a purpose, and used incorrectly, it's no different than a gun.
Well, but from me looking in, y'all are in the game.
Yeah.
I'm not in
Yeah.
the game. I don't know. I had no idea y'all would give it. So all I see is that dirty word that's
Correct.
on the
Right.
media,
Right.
fentanyl. Oh my
No.
God, got to stay away from
Right.
fentanyl. But then y'all use it and be like, yes, best thing ever. It's tried and true. So.
I talked to somebody today that couldn't believe they gave it to their 2-year-old fentanyl in the hospital, and I was like, no, that's fine. Like, that's a thing. It's just
Right.
perfectly okay. It works quickly and leaves quickly, and that's what
we
you
are
want.
professionals here,
right?
Right.
But again, people that
But
aren't
it's
in the
funny
game.
about professionals, even still. Like I had a conversation with a physician,
Mhm.
trying to get referrals for. We had a patient that wanted to have an infusion, and we just basically wanted her to have her diagnosis, because that's what we really need. It's just an established diagnosis of, treatment resistant depression, PTSD, anxiety, things like that. So we need that just as a criteria for an infusion. And I spoke with the physician, and, this physician was like, I'm just really on board with the cannabis and the marijuana. I just don't think I can in good faith just send my patient for a ketamine infusion. And I thought to myself,
well, it's really
you're sending home a patient with marijuana to smoke or take at their leisure.
Right.
This is in a controlled environment.
Right.
I'm a medical professional. I'm literally monitoring their heart rate, their blood pressure, their oxygen level. I have direct line of sight. We have cameras in the room. And they're getting the infusion under my watch, and I'm making sure that they are okay to go home. They're not leaving with any ketamine.
Yeah.
And you're not comfortable with that. That was
you got to shoot an email over with some literature.
We
have you read?
We tried that, but you just it's changing like you said, the perception can be difficult, and we've run into that a little bit, but not crazy amounts. For the most part, people are really.
It's changing. You can see things it takes a lot of momentum to turn a big ship around, and a lot of the way we think about things has been ingrained for years, and it takes word of mouth. It takes you knowing someone who had a ketamine infusion, and now you can see a change in this person. So it's a slow spread, but it's a positive change that I feel like we're doing. But
and it's also to me it's a tool in a toolbox to treat something that's very complex, right? Because diet, exercise, like these are all things that can help people that are not in a good mental place, but sometimes you get so far off that you do need like the reset like that you're talking about, because you've lost your capabilities of even making that decision or motivating yourself to get out of the house.
Absolutely.
The person with the blinds closed and no light in the house, stuff like that.
Right.
What about, and I guess this could sound stupid, but what about a drug test? Like say I drive a bus or something like that where my CDL requires me to take a drug test. Would this affect that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. You can speak on that.
Well, most drug screens are not specific to ketamine because
Correct.
they're looking for other stuff.
Yeah.
It would have to be a specific test, but yes, if your employer tested you for ketamine and had a drug screen that was going to identify you had ketamine in your system, yes, it would.
Mm-hmm.
But you're receiving ketamine in a medical facility
Mm-hmm.
versus I had a friend who had some
Right. At the
ketamine
party.
ketamine
yeah.
I
party.
think it would
Yeah.
probably be equivalent to like if I had surgery
Correct.
and
Right.
I had a CDL and then they drug tested me. I think you could probably have them reach out to our
Well, the only
clinic and
reason
we
I
would-
ask is
we'd
because
be
now
happy
we're
to-
going through the huge paperwork of the medical marijuana thing with the schools,
Mhm.
and it's even though we don't support, so we're signing all this paperwork. That's what kind of why I asked that question.
Yeah,
that
and that
makes
goes
any
back
sense.
to like insurance liabilities and stuff. But that's
Mhm.
more like Stephanie's saying, for them to test for that specifically
Probably wouldn't do
would be
it.
very not
Yeah.
that they couldn't, not
Yeah.
that they couldn't.
Yeah.
It's
but
not the typical panel that they
Correct.
run at this time.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. So yeah, that's a good question though. Heather said she was just about to ask the same
Yeah.
thing. So, where are y'all at? Like most active, if people want to know more, to reach out to you. The clinic is actually in Biloxi. Where specifically?
So it's 180B
Okay.
DeBees Road, which if you know where Oceans Behavioral Health Center or hospital is, or that 4-story medical office building that's right out there on the corner of DeBees and CT Switzer.
Mhm.
If you're coming over the railroad tracks on DeBees, heading south towards the beach, you're gonna go right past that 4-story medical office building and turn left and follow the street around to the back, and there's an old hospital,
Gulf Coast Medical Center.
Medical Center, and that is no longer being used. Sorry, I'm not from the coast.
That's
so,
okay.
Yeah, that's all
You're
good.
from Louisiana. That's close enough,
Yeah.
right?
well,
Or you just went to school
I'm from
there?
the Delta.
Oh,
Yeah.
There you
you're
go.
super Mississippi.
There you
man.
go. Yeah.
That's very Mississippi.
So anyway, so it's back there behind that old in the office buildings behind that old hospital.
How long y'all been up and running?
May.
Yeah.
Okay, so super new.
Super new.
Yeah,
Okay.
going on 3 months almost.
Yeah. So if people haven't heard about you yet, it's because y'all just
Is
opened
this you're the first one
on the coast?
on the
On the
coast?
coast.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is pretty much y'all are it.
We're
Yeah.
it.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
They're the
It's-
business.
South
Yeah.
of Jackson, I think we're it for the state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have y'all pulled some people? I guess you've already said that Hattiesburg.
Yeah, we
Louisiana.
got people coming from Middle Mississippi, from Louisiana, and coming over.
Mobile. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is great. And because a lot of these patients have gone to other clinics, and then they realize that we're here,
Right.
and they're like, "Y'all can get me in tomorrow," and we're like, "Texting Lane,
Yeah.
when do you get off work? When do you get off
Yeah.
work?" I'm like, yes, we can.
Yes, we
we
can.
can. We can actually
Yeah.
do that.
You think that's Google? Are they Googling this, you think, to find you so far? Or have y'all started doing any heavy
So
marketing?
we're on Google, Instagram, Facebook.
Okay, so do you have a Facebook site?
Yes,
Facebook page? Okay.
yes. It's my NeuroKare and KARE,
Okay.
myneurocare.com and WLOX.
Oh, y'all were on WLS?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look y'all up
So
right
you
now.
you have to follow the proper steps, right? I can't just say I'm having a bad
I'm
day.
having a bad
and walk in
day.
your
My
clinic, right?
dog died. My cat doesn't talk to me.
Right.
I'm depressed. I need some ketamine.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to refer you, like you need to, there's other, things. Ketamine is considered a treatment resistant. So you have to have a diagnosis, like someone is pen on paper has identified that you have a diagnosis, and
Right.
one of them is,
Disorder.
So your first step is go see your local physician.
yeah,
Yeah.
try to get some help, some self-help stuff. We mentioned the gym, try to, because life is hard, like the struggle's real on a lot of days. I mean, we finally got some rain today, right? I mean, come on, grass is struggling, but so we're gonna try to water it first, right, before we try to hook it up with a
couple more days of these temperatures, we're all gonna need ketamine infusion.
We may.
Everybody's gonna be
We
depressed
may.
and angry.
Ice water. Can y'all do
Right.
ice water infusions?
Oh,
yeah.
That's
it's
part
on your
of it.
website. Yeah, I
That's
forgot about
part of
that.
it, yeah.
They do vitamins, right?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Oh, yeah.
Nutrients.
Yeah.
IV hydration, nutrients. IV nutrients.
So y'all do like B12s and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So if you had like a long
Like a-
night
It's-
come
yeah.
in,
on their
and
web-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
as long as you get an appointment, right?
We have had people that have been sick from up in their Ozempic dose come in
Oh,
and
yeah.
have been nauseated, vomiting, and we give them IV infusion.
You don't need the
Um,
referral for that, right?
No.
No. No, so just come on in.
Yeah, headaches, migraines, IV infusions.
Whew. I'm not going to tell you where y'all can make a killing, but after a Mardi Gras ball,
that's
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
that'd be cool. Yeah,
tennis tournaments, golf tournaments, all
that'll
this.
work.
It's
That's
hot.
true. It's
And
hot as
just
it is
come
down
in,
here.
and you just, as long as somebody's in the clinic, you can
Yeah.
walk in and get one, right?
We'll
Yeah.
call them.
Call
Yeah,
them.
Yeah, call
yeah.
in and make an appointment.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had one more comment come in. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but do you have a patient testimony that specifically sticks out to you, either one of you, without breaking HIPAA?
Ooh.
I feel like one of our very first infusions, it was one of the few first infusions. I feel like this person had, you have conversations over the phone, or you like speak with their family or whoever to set the appointment up, and then you meet them in person, and you have all these preconceived ideas about what it's going to be like, but you don't really understand like what they actually look like. And
Right.
this person almost looked withdrawn, like just shoulders down, couldn't make eye contacts, extreme social anxiety, just things that I can't relate to on a personal level, but to see it is just almost heartbreaking.
Right.
And not able to leave the house a lot, can't even go to eat with family, things like that. And after the very first infusion, then the next day that person went out and went to the movies with their wife and daughter, which hadn't happened in a while.
Right.
And then by the next infusion, they came in and it was like their color was better, eye contact, and of course we had met, and I'm sure there was some nerves involved on the first one, but
Right.
that sticks out to me because I just felt like
The light was coming back on.
right.
Yeah.
It was just, and then they were having and reporting back to us like, I'm just having more better days than bad. I'm just continuing to feel better. I'm not as withdrawn. I'm able to get up and I want to do things. I actually want to get up and do some things. I'm planning ahead and thinking ahead instead of just consumed with just depression in the moment.
Yeah, and I think like that depression's on a spectrum, right? Everybody's
Sure.
got it differently, and you're seeing probably someone
Sure.
who's deeper into it,
Sure.
so the change is even that much
Right.
more
And these
noticeable.
people are usually desperate. I mean,
Right.
truly, a lot of them are just. I can imagine. I know everybody gets anxious, but to feel that crippling anxiety or crippling depression on a daily basis for hours and hours, and maybe you never lets up. The only thing I can equate it to is whenever I was pregnant with my kids and I was nauseated.
Yeah.
And I was so sick feeling that I was just like, I can't escape this. There's no escape. How do I get away from this? Like it was wearing me down, like in a mental capacity, because I was so over it.
Get this baby out of here.
I was just like, I can't. I'm sick all the time.
Yeah.
And I think about that all the time when I talk to these patients, because they are just at the end of their rope. They
Right.
can't see a way out.
Yeah.
And we hope we can,
Yeah,
throw them a lifeline.
And you wonder how many of those people are using other drugs, whether it be alcohol or
Sure.
whatever, to try to cover
Cope,
that
yeah.
up or cope with that, and hopefully that could get them off of that or help them steer the ship the right way.
Yeah.
Have some patients that's been with y'all through day one? I mean, through.
Well, in our big 3-month
Yeah, run at it.
run.
Yeah.
So I'm starting, get some patients coming back, and sort of a similar story. They first come in, it's not a lot of communicating, and just really quiet. And I had a patient yesterday that post infusion, and that's a beautiful thing about ketamine. You're not waiting for a level to develop in your body of things. It's pretty quick. A lot of this initial response and the snaps rewiring and affecting receptors. And so I had this patient, and I got the best advice on how to plant my my deer plots. I got the best advice on tractors. I mean, and so the first time I saw him, nowhere near as talkative and just completely happy, alert, almost like skipping out of the door. It was great. And and I know that it's because of the environment that we've put them in. We put them in a really nice, comfortable environment, and the ketamine infusions. A completely different person post transfusion, and usually I'll get like a follow up the next day or 2 days later on how they're doing, and it's amazing. It's amazing what people are doing and the way you're transforming these people, and when their families are texting you and calling you and saying, he is out seeing his friends. He's calling people he hasn't talked to. He's not in the bed. The day before he came down for the infusion, he was in the bed, depressed, didn't even really know why. No reason to be in the bed, zero motivation. And now he's up, riding around. He's in town. He's calling everybody. It's just, it's amazing to see. And that's the gratification that makes all of this. Like, why are we doing it? Is because I think people are having better quality of life. They're integrating in society better, and their families are loving it. It's more as much for them, the families who are with these patients too, saying, "Wow, this is a great person now. This is this person that I used to know is now back." It's really good.
Yeah. It sounds like y'all's heart's definitely in the right spot. You're serving a underserved part of the community in a complex issue, a complex situation. So hats off to y'all and what you're doing.
Yeah. Is that the end game? I'm sorry, before we run out here. Is that to be off of ketamine and be a happier person, or do you see it to where you're still going to need it somewhere down the line? You say it rewires. Do you think at one point you'll be like, all right, I'm good. I'm going to rock and roll?
I bet that's going to be different for everybody.
I think that's a lot of a personal, and it could be something catastrophic in this person's life.
Right.
I mean, it could be something that is a short term, and I think that when you have a person that now feels better and feels like doing things, they are doing things to improve their life.
Right.
And it may be something that they a better habit, a better lifestyle, a better routine they've created that they might not need ketamine down the road. They've developed something and they've gotten help in other ways. And
correct.
We're hoping that ketamine is able to give them that boost to find better health.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it's a tool. I think in a big.
I like it. I think it's interesting. I mean, I came in knowing absolutely nothing about anything, and so we got it.
Yeah, I
thought we were starting a gym.
Yeah, Joey thought we were working out today. I didn't even know. So, but I dropped your the link to your to myneurokare.com for people on listening as well. But it's in the comments right now on the live and on the replays, and then I also linked to your Facebook page, which is NeuroKare. Infusion therapy, right? That's the Facebook link. So they're all in the comments. You can go click on that. Audio people, I'll have a link in the bottom as well. I want to thank y'all for stopping by
this evening
and
coming being on the show.
Great,
it's it's right in our wheelhouse. This is supporting the community that we love so much. It's not just outdoors hunting and fishing. We're all about everything here on the Gulf Coast. So thanks again for stopping by. And we got some what do we got coming up? The Sheep's Head Showdown. Registration is up now on brownwaterbanter.com. If you want to fish that tournament, $25 for the main Sheep's Head division, and then we got some add-ons you can do there for redfish,
and that's
flounder.
The vets are free. Any veteran with a military ID gets in the main free. Reach out to us and we'll get you in touch with Derek Callender. And then you can buy on. It's going to be a huge turnout. We got a kids tournament. We got the kids tournament. We got the adult tournament, belts. There's going to be all kinds of booths there. USM's going to be setting up. Tackle 22. There's going to be all kinds.
Yep. We're fixing to ramp up on that. So you're going to get tired of hearing about that.
Yep.
Thanking all our sponsors that's been a part of that. So we'll get into that. What we got one next, episode show book next. Before we get out of here.
Don't make me lie.
Yep.
We have one. Look at my handy dandy calendar. We have one Monday.
Okay, that's a couple days from now. So y'all keep tuning in, and we'll keep doing them. So we'll see you on the next one.